Okay, so starting off, I want to show you the template of how I'm going to build my cities. I've been playing around with a lot of designs. I'm going to go over some of the ways you can think about building that are going to lead to some pretty efficient cities. You can see right here, I actually come up with something pretty darn impressive. Let's talk about some of the synergies in this game. It's pretty simple. You have your houses, and then you have a corresponding building, like a spinner. You put the spinner in, and it's going to give you an area of effective income and knowledge +1. Now, trying to get all of the buildings in the game, right? Trying to get everything compacted together is a little difficult. One of the best tools to use is the relocation. You can actually just highlight entire areas and move them out. So don't feel like you need to do everything perfect. But I will say there is something to be said about setting things up really decently. Now, you're going to have really big synergy buildings, crafting buildings, like the winemaker. Now, what I've found about these buildings is they're usually exactly two residences wide. Okay, they're about two wide. So what you want to have is kind of like a little intersection where you have a big wide gap, and then you actually want to go by 3 by 3. I'm coming back to the 3 by 3 because I actually found out how to make this ridiculously decent. You can put a well, you can put a watchtower, and you can put a spinner or anything in the middle and have all these houses. Zero wasted space, okay? Zero wasted space. And look at this. The winery, it fits right above it, right? So you basically have something like this, and you have your winery, which goes down 2 tiles. But essentially, what my residential areas are going to look like is this. And because there's also a building called like the latrine and some other buildings that will come out. So it's saying construction material missing. So I'm going to have 2 rows like this. You're going to have an inner row where you can put pretty much anything you want. Let's even take that a step further because there's enough room here. Look at this. For your fire watch. You can put your city watch. You can put your medical building in here. So this is what I'm finding is there actually is a quasi-perfect design. And this is about as close as I've come to figuring it out. I'm actually really proud of this one because I've always been doing weird stuff with the middle, but you just basically remove one building and you get a watchtower and you get the spinner. Now there are more advanced buildings that you unlock with your technology. There's actually a latrine, and the latrine would fit in the place of a spinner. So you can have essentially all of your crafting buildings in the center like that. Or you can also go a different route and have them all in the middle. I've tried a lot of different designs, you can see. Right, that's why I like the 3 by 3 because you can just remove things and throw things in. So here's another example. This is a workshop. This is the tabulus. Guess what? Tabulus fits. That's right. Perfect. Perfect 2 wide. So you can have all of these guys in the middle. You can have all these guys here. You can have your hat, and also the market fits in here perfectly too. There's your market, and you can put your tavern. Look at that. Same width. So essentially, you just replicate this over and over. You see that? All right. So now we're just going to build it. All this is, and just ignore the fact that there's a double road here. I was playing around some stuff. All you're doing here is placing 3 houses like that. You're basically doing a horseshoe, okay? And pick whatever side. It actually doesn't matter which side you pick. You're going to go 2 tiles in like this, right? That's it. And then when you have a crafting building or something that you want, you can place it in this big spot here. So I can come over here and say, hey, you know what would be really cool here? Some bread, but bread will have to go in the middle section. So these are really big. See? So you have a spot for bread right here in this little middle section. And so some of these are small, some of them aren't. So sandals. Sandals is one that will fit here. So boom, look at that. I just got sandals in there. And if I have the need, I can place a well here. And so you can see the distance on some of these is a little weird. You don't need to do wells and watchtowers on all of these gents, right? And also you need to take into consideration later on you will get concrete. And by expanding concrete, it expands the radius. So you actually only need the well and watchtower here. And these 2 spots right here, they could be anything you want. They can be decorations, but it gives you options, right? It gives you options. You could also, if you have a more elongated thing, just take out the road and build that elongated thing. So a lot of potential here. So for instance, yeah, the tabulus, you can see it's just a little wide, right? But if I wanted to, I could just say, to hell with these guys, right? And then I could put the tabulus right here. And then I got a 2 tile gap there. So you have a lot of interchangeability that you can move things around. And you're not really eating up a lot of space. So this is kind of my go-to now, is going to be these 3x3s by two. So you go 2 rows of 3x3, 1 row of 2 wide. And you can put houses here and then delete them later, and then 3x3, and then 2 wide. And then what you're going to want to do is look at the baths, and you're going to look at the forum, and you're going to want to look at the theater. So let's examine the width of these things individually. Personally, I think you're going to want to approach this from skinny side, right? So if we put all these side by side, we can see that there are some commonalities. The big guy, you're going to have to figure out what to do with that one. It's going to be very dependent. And then this gen over here, right? And another thing I like about the 2x2 area, as you're going to see, is it is exactly as the width of the sanctuary. So you can place the sanctuary this way, and look how far you can, look at the distance on this thing. When you upgrade the concrete in all that area, you're going to be able to have your sanctuary like right here, and it's going to hit everything. It's going to hit all these houses. I've been trying to figure out how you can consolidate all these buildings, and this is it. It's you have to get to concrete, and you have to upgrade your roads, and then you can centralize everything. And again, same thing, exact same width. So this just works, just like that. I would flip this part in though. It also just looks nicer, right? Having it both on the inside. It's really cool. I like it. I dig it. But here's the width, right? So the only real exception, and this is the important thing. Let's put the road tool here. Look at this. They're all the same, except for the forum. So if you were to build based off of the forum, the thickness of the forum is what you're going to want. And you're essentially going to want this whole area here in the center of your city. So look at this, right? Pretty close. Pretty close. And so, you know, give or take a little bit. And you're also, as you can see with roads and how they work and how they allow the spread of services, you're not going to want these all bunched up. You're actually going to want roads in between all this. So what you're going to want is bump this up a tile, right? You're going to want a couple, come on, bump it up. You're going to want a road in between. And you may even be able to throw in a couple services, to be quite honest. And we're going to take this guy down, and then we're going to bring a road across and boom that up. Okay, so now you see is you have something really cool. Now the easiest way for you to know what's going on here is just to take houses. Look at that. It's a perfect for housing. Now, what you're going to have is about a 1 tile gap along the way here, and there's nothing wrong with that. Now, you could make the argument, well, what about the other direction, right? What about going this way with this guy and this way with this guy, right? Or just doing it in weird ways, right? You can do whatever you want. I'm just saying, for me, I like to have some concepts. And so when you get to concrete, a line like this is going to hit every single thing. And so I would probably say you have 2 of these residentials and then something like this in the middle, if you can hack it. So you can see if I would have done it this over here like this, I would have been able to have gotten all these houses with much better spread of goods. But you know, the 2x2s and the 3x3s are awesome. And you don't even need to really dial in your cities that much with this game. It's just kind of fun to do, right? Another thing I'll note is that you're gonna need aqueducts. You could even incorporate the aqueduct into design and make this a little bit more compact. So let's talk about a different theory, right? What if we went sideways with this? What if we went long ways with this guy, right? And what if you then went sideways with this guy? Take the road tool, go down, road tool, oopsie daisy. Take the road tool, go down, right? So you could do this, and then you have all this extra spacing for other buildings. So you can see over here, I could place spinners, I could place all types of stuff. But I feel like the spinners are better suited to the inside of, and then things like this are better suited to the center of your city with upgraded roads. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to get to a period where you have aqueduct. Now you can see that the cistern, it uses the roads as the basis for who has access. Not dependent upon, it's not a radius like other things. So you have things that are road access dependent, and then you have things like this. It's a circle. Doesn't matter. Yeah, the guy down the street has access to it, but he's not getting the area of effect bonus. And so that's the dealio with those. The area of effect bonus, however, on these big buildings is based off road coverage. So pretty big distinction. So the more upgraded roads you have, the better. So by centralizing these and upgrading all of your roads, you're doing good. You could even potentially, if you wanted to get technical, you could probably do this too. So you see these all fit perfect, right? And of course you would want a road because you do need, okay, you would want to do it like this. Take this guy down a notch, take this guy down a notch. You want to make sure that you have roads going from one side to the other. So you see how these buildings are almost exactly the right size for this stuff? So there is, I would say, something to be said about designing your city like this. Perfect. So you see how you can fit every single one of the major buildings outside, of course, the library and the temple. The temple will fit in here too. So you have to so that's just it. It just never ends, right? It's okay, well, why not this building? Why not this building? It never ends. But this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a 2. 5 and a 2 wide. And that will fit almost all of these buildings for you. That's pretty cool. So if you want to remember that, 5 and a 2, that's a good way to do it. But like I said, you can move your entire, like you can, if I wanted to reorganize everything without losing stuff, I could just do this, right? I could just find it probably is going to help to have a blank place that you could throw something over here. Here we go. It's going to cost, yeah, it's going to cost you a fortune because I am playing on the normal difficulty. It is a little pricey to move stuff. So that's another thing too. If you're playing a higher difficulty, there is a cost to it. But if you plan things out like this, you're going to have a much better time. So 5 by 2 to get something like this in the center. These are just, these are the 3 by 3s like normal, but in the center, so you have 2 3 by 3s and then a 2 by 2 right here. And this is awesome. You can pretty much fill this with everything. Now your market again, and so the main kicker here is you got to get roads, right? You have to get your roads, and you need to be really careful about how you connect roads. This is probably one of the bigger mistakes that even I made. It's just making sure that you have roads. But that is how we're going to go about approaching and designing this city. But I just wanted to quickly kind of explain some of the methodology, and I guarantee you I'm going to switch some of this stuff up. But I just wanted to quickly give some hints